our actual analysis of the financial statements. And the first thing we're going to look at is a ratio called, well, a number called working capital. And then on the heels of that, we're going to look at working capital ratio. And what I'm going to do with each of these is put up the formula, and then you're going to go into Marleya and do the calculations. Okay? And then I'll explain what it is and what we use the formula for. So working capital is simply current assets minus current liabilities. And it is quoted as an absolute dollar amount. And working capital, the actual number, is the amount that a company has to meet its current obligations, its current debts. So obviously, this is saying if I liquidated all my current assets and paid off all my current debts, how much would I have left? So why don't you go, oh, and then let me give you this one, then I'll have you do it both. And then working capital ratio is current assets minus, or current assets divided by current liabilities. And that's quoted as a ratio. So what that is going to be something to 1. In other words, what it says is, for every $1 of current liabilities, how many dollars of current assets do I have to cover them? For every $1 of current liabilities, how many dollars of current assets do I have to cover them? And then lastly in this set, and then I'll let you go do some calculations for me, we'll talk about it. The last one's called a quick or asset ratio. And what that's recognizing is when you look at your current assets, are all of them, and let's just take a quick peek, down on the bottom left-hand side of the Marleya, where it gives us a rundown, of what's exactly in the current asset section. Are all of those assets easily convertible to cash, if you take a look at those? Are they all easily convertible to cash? What isn't? No, current assets. Current assets. Bottom left. Inventory may or may not be easily convertible, right? I mean, if my business is dealing in, high-end diamond rings or something, there's lots of inventories that are instantly convertible. And what else isn't going to be easily convertible? So, but these are, I'm only looking at current asset section. Well, hopefully you're going to be able to collect your AR. Marketable securities are cash equivalents. That would be the only one left. Good job, Jordan. Prepaid expenses are generally not easily convertible. You prepaid your rent or your insurance or something. It's not like, oh gosh, I can cash that in and get money for it, right? So what this ratio says is instead of just how many dollars of current assets do I have to cover every dollar of current liabilities, it's only your most highly liquid assets. So that formula is cash plus marketable securities plus AR divided by current liabilities. And that's also a ratio that says, and I'm performing this if I'm lending you money, I want to know what's your ability to pay back your debts as they come due. So go ahead and for 2012, please calculate actual dollar value of working capital and then do your working capital ratio and your asset ratio. Yep, 2012. I would just take the ratio out to 1 decimal place, please. The ratio. That's like 6.2 to 1. So what I got for working capital, $340,000. And for the working capital ratio, I got 2.6 to 1. This I got 340. I got 2.6 to 1. And this one I got 1.34. I guess you can go up 2 places. It doesn't make honestly. The key is, I mean, the numbers are easy to calculate. Go, Harry, do you have a question? I took 90,500, which is cash, plus 75 gram marketable securities, plus 115 of AR, divided by my current liabilities at 210. What do these mean? What would you say about the company, and how do you assess what these ratios mean? I don't think you can assess growth from this. Can't assess profitability either. We're on the balance sheet. Okay, that's what we're trying to assess. Can they pay their current debts as they come due? Yeah. Are they? Could you make a comparison to how they're doing compared to last year? How would you do that? You would do all these same ratios for last year, and then you would conduct horizontal analysis on it, right? What's the percentage change? It shows strength of what? Liquidity, solvency, or profitability? Liquidity, and I should have put this up there to start with, sorry. This ascertains liquidity. I'm interested in this if I'm a short-term creditor, right? I'm lending you money or I'm selling you inventory on account. I'm interested in this if I'm your employee, because this is how you meet payroll. The key here, you guys, is you can say some things like, yeah, they can pay their bills as they come due. I can compare it to last year. But to really assess if these are good numbers, what would you have to do? You have to compare them. And what are you going to compare them to? Other like-kind industry sector members. So if this is, pet supplies, I'm going to go look at other like-kind, other pet stores and see what does their quick ratio look like? What does their working capital ratio look like? And that's how I can assess how well I'm doing, and that's how other people are going to assess how well I'm doing.
Like in words, that ratio would be for every $2
Other way around. For every $1 of current liabilities.
Right.
And 62 cents of current assets to cover them. Here you would say, for every $1 of current liabilities, I have $1.34 of, they're called quick assets. And in the business world, these are known as quick assets. In other words, I can really quickly get them into cash. May or may not really be true. Somebody said AR, and I kind of have a tendency to agree. It depends upon who your AR is, right? Okay. Okay, now we're talking about a set of assets. Also, that in my mind assesses, any questions on those three? On my mind, go ahead. No, on the bottom left of Marleya is the breakdown of your current assets, plus the 75 grand for marketable securities. 210. Current liabilities are 210, right? Okay. For every $1 of current liabilities, I have $1.34 of quick assets to cover it. For every $1 of current liabilities, I have $1.34 of quick assets to cover them. Okay, this next set, your book calls your asset management ratios. In my mind, but it still is part of assessing liquidity. So this is my word. I feel like we're still in this big overview called liquidity. The book calls these asset management ratios. And basically what we're talking about in the next 4 ratios is this whole idea in any sort of inventory or any sort of inventory, whether it's retail or wholesale or business to business or whatever. I mean, you start with cash, and you buy inventory, and you convert that to accounts receivable, and then you collect it, and then you start again, right? And every time you go through that process, you do what? You generate some sort of profit, right? So obviously, the quicker that goes, the more profitable you are, right? It's never going to behoove you as a business to do anything other than manage the cycle as quickly and efficiently as you can. So these next 4 ratios talk about the rapidity or how fast this cycle perpetuates. Okay, so let me go ahead and put up 2 ratios, and then I'll have you calculate them and we'll talk about them. So the first is called AR turnover. And in business, sorry? One more time. Oh, what I'm saying is your book calls it this, but it's still to me in the very broad category of assessing liquidity, because if this isn't happening fast, you're illiquid, right? I'm holding on to a bunch of inventory that I can't sell, or I've got a bunch of AR I can't collect. So it definitely is still part of the whole liquidity equation. Hi. Okay, turnover of business means how fast is this cycle happening, right? So to calculate AR turnover, and I'm going to put the words that are really critical to pick up in red. So it's net sales, but not all your sales, only credit sales. Net credit sales divided by average AR. Net credit sales divided by average AR. So the first thing when you go to look at that is you've got to ask me what percentage of my sales are on credit. And I don't know how I got that number. Didn't I say somewhere in there everything's on account? Oh, okay, let's just say I've got to tell you, and I'm going to tell you all my sales are on account. I don't do any cash sales. Okay. Second piece of this, how are you going to get average AR? Yeah, take beginning and ending balance and divide by 2. Okay. The next one then is once you get AR turnover, your average collection period calculation is 365 divided by the number you just got. So let me get, and this is quoted in number of times. How many times did my AR turnover? And this is quoted in number of days. So let me give you a couple minutes. You're going to be doing this calculation for 2012. on the first one, turnover is net credit sales. Net, meaning after what? After sales RNA and after sales discounts. I don't think I had any discounts on this one, but so, and then the next question has got to be, what percentage of your sales are credit? And I told you 100%. So my numerator is 1,498,000, right? My average AR is 115 plus 120 divided by 2. $115, which was the beginning balance. No, that was the ending balance for 2012. The beginning balance for 2012 was 120. So I add those together and divide by 2. 117.5. What does that mean? My AR turned over 12.8 times. Yeah? So what does that mean? Yeah, that cycle that I just showed you up top, that happened 12.8 times. Good or, well, I don't know, is it? 30 would be better, 6 would be worse. You have to compare it to other like-kind companies. That's the key, really. This number, does everyone see where this number came from then? Once I get the 12.8, 365 divided by 12.8 gives me 29 days. Really, the key to these is just what Gretchen said. You have to compare this to your what? Yeah, your terms, your invoice terms. If your invoice terms are 45 days, you're doing great. If your invoice terms are 20 days, you're not doing very great. This helps you craft credit policy. Do I need to tighten my credit policy? Or if I want more customers and my terms are 45 days, do I want to loosen it? Maybe get some more customers that maybe will take a little bit longer to pay. Okay? Yeah, then that's going to be, this is going to be not as generic to apply. You're going to have to dial in and look at each of them individually. Okay, and then the last two kind of in this broad category of asset management / liquidity is inventory turnover and days to sell. So this is that part of the circle. How many times do I sell? Do I turn my inventory over? Number of times inventory sold in a period. And then days, average days to sell is the other one. And then we'll be through kind of the first set of numbers. So inventory turnover is COGS divided by average inventory. And then average, and that's quoted again a number of times. And then average days to sell inventory is again that 365 divided by the number you just calculated. And that's quoted a number of days. times did you show our inventory turning over? Yeah, that's what I got too. This is a super critical number because if you're holding onto your inventory too long, what's going on? Yeah. Obsolescence is a big risk. I mean, particularly if you're in something that's remotely, consumer, trendy based, right? And secondly, it costs money to carry inventory, doesn't it? Warehouse and insurance, and security, and storage costs, and all that carrying costs are cool. And then how many days on average does it take me to sell my inventory? 96. Yeah. I mean, not really. I don't really know where 2 decimal. Yeah, I see what you're saying. I don't really know that. I mean, what does that tell me? Nothing really, right? So we'll just keep it. We'll keep it pretty standard at 1, I guess. So, but on days, I mean, there's not really. That's not really. You're not going to put decimals there. Make them think it's a day's a day. Right. So, do you want me to define each of these so you can make sure to get them in your notes? So inventory turnover is the number of times inventory is sold in a period. And in this case, it's a year. Number of time inventory is sold in a period. Whereas average days to sell inventory is right in the title. There's nothing more to say about that. That's exactly what it is. The operating cycle is a year. Well, no. I mean, if you were doing this ratio for a month, if I was conducting this ratio on beginning and ending balances and inventory for like March, then it would be how many times did I turn it over in a month, right? Huh? Yeah. Yeah. Well, it would be in weeks if you're only doing a month analysis. Yeah, you certainly. Yeah, certainly with something that, what's the word I'm looking for that goes, when things become, yeah, when things go bad, there's a better word for it, but whatever. Spoilage, yeah. Okay. Let's see, and then what else did I want to say? Oh, and so if you add together, what's it called? Perishables. Thank you. By Friday, I've used up all my words. So if you take, what was this number down here, 96? If you take the days to collect plus the days to sell, that's called your operating cycle. So if you take your average days to sell your inventory is 96 days, and then the average number of days to collect that AR is 29 days, that means your operating cycle is about 125 days. No, it's not. It's just, you're just adding plus. Yeah. So if you look at that back up in that schematic, that I put up in the first time, going from inventory, from cash to inventory, AR to cash, right? It's taking me an average of 96 days to sell my inventory and convert it to AR, and then about another 29 days to get my AR turned into cash. Hopefully this is going to be, a pretty quick process, right? So what can you tell me about this company as far as how many times a year about it's completing its operating cycle? It's about 3 times. 365 divided by 125. or 129, you know, it's about 3 times a year, about every 4 months, right? So, I mean, that's not beer or lettuce, right? That's probably follows more like clothes, right? Well, here we have more than 3 seasons. About 3 seasons of clothes. About 3 seasons of clothes. Yeah. I think it's really cruel to talk about swimsuit season during the holidays when everybody's eating a bunch. Okay, so what am I saying about all these ratios? They help us assess what? Financial health, a very specific piece of financial health. Sorry? Yeah, how are things looking in my day-to-day operations? This doesn't say anything about how are you doing investing in long-term equipment, how are you capitalizing your business, how are you managing your expenses, how profitable are you? It doesn't say anything about any of that. It's saying, how are you managing your day-to-day operations, right? Huh? This is fun because this helps you see what's going on in your business. Okay, the last asset management ratio, and then we'll move on to the whole next set of them, is called, and they do this a little different than I do, so sorry. And that's total asset turnover, and then I've got these upside down. Okay, so is there total asset turnover ratio? Yeah, this is still under the broad liquidity. This isn't really liquid. This is just an asset management. So you know how up here, we talked about liquidity, then we talked about liquidity via asset management. This last one is just really about how well are you managing your assets. It's not a liquidity ratio at all. Let's just say that. So this is called your total asset turnover. And it's sales divided by average total assets. And it's also quoted a number of times. And if you're already starting to get overwhelmed by these ratios, let me just show you that all of these ones that say turnover have something in common, which is it's a P&L account divided by a what? An average balance sheet account. Up here, P&L account divided by average balance sheet account. Up here, P&L account divided by average balance sheet account. So all of these are looking at how are you taking something on your balance sheet, something that you own, to generate sales or profit of some sort. So go ahead and see if you can calculate that one. Go ahead. That is going to be net sales. Thank you. Yeah, net sales. The only question, Sherry, is if it's something that's credit oriented, you have to guess what percentage of that is credit.
What is, well,
Sorry? Yeah, times. So sales. And what did you get for average total assets? 1. So how many times? And I think we decided we're just going to about 1 decimal point. So you added the total assets together and divided by 2. Everybody get 1.185? No? Well, let's see. Add the total at 1139500 plus 1230500 equals. Divided by 2 equals. So that number's correct. 1498000 divided by 1185000 equals.
you don't do the first, you do the comparative.
You have to just go to the comparative balance sheet and pick up total assets, right? Yeah, 1.3 times, that's right. Okay, and what does that actually mean? What does the asset turnover mean? It measures efficiency. Efficiency in what? Do you think? Assets to do what? To generate sales. So if your assets aren't being productive, you should divest in and get assets that are productive, right? So efficiency in utilizing not just current assets, but what? All your assets to generate sales. And it is funny because I've been teaching these same models for about 25 years or however long I've been teaching. Yeah, about 25 years actually. And with all the disruptive technologies, a lot of these are kind of going away. You look at these multi-billion-dollar companies like, Uber and Facebook and Google and all these companies that didn't have sales for years. It was all, their market cap was completely built on potential, right? I think Facebook existed for like 7 years before they started selling anything. And that's pretty incredible. So I was just reading an article that was talking about the fact that a lot of our traditional analysis is becoming sort of obsolete with disruptive technologies. Okay, next category. 1.3 times. And again, is that good or bad? Same answer. I don't know. I've got to go do some comparisons to other like-kind companies, and I have to look at my own trend line. Do I want that number to be going up or down? Up. Up. I want my assets to be producing increasing sales, right, as a ratio. Okay. Next general category. How am I managing? And when you look at all of these chart, those first three ratios that we did, the working capital and then the working capital ratio and the asset ratio, those are also things you can use in your personal life. I mean, I want to know what my current debts that are coming due, what kind of assets do I have to cover that, right? So that was all the short-term stuff. This set of ratios is all the long-term stuff. So how am I doing with managing my day-to-day bills is the short-term stuff. How am I doing with my mortgages and my long-term notes and my bonds is what we're looking at here. So this is generally for long-term creditors. And it measures, so liquidity's in the short term, what's it called in the long term again? Solvency, exactly, it's called solvency. Okay, so one of the things that we want to measure is, and we all have heard about this with personal credit card debt, where you can't even make the interest payments, right? I just read even after the recession and everybody come back on their credit, consumer credit, guess what the average American credit card debt, household credit card debt is again? No, it's like $13,900. $13,900 on a credit card. A lot? I couldn't make payments on that every month. That household, average household credit card debt, $13,900 bucks. I mean, that's like a car on your credit card.
Yeah, but I think people are
I don't really understand that though, because everywhere you turn, all the data is full employment. Well, so what? Yeah, I want to hear this. Okay. So when we were seeing,
there's a criteria that they usually base unemployment.
Okay. It's not really 4.8%.
No. They said realistically, if you talk to an economist, you're right around 5-10%.
So when it was at 10, it was really at 18?
Yeah, I've heard it's actually around 18.
If people actively searching for work,
Huh.
they figure it.
Okay, well that's interesting to hear because that has always baffled me. Like everywhere you turn, every number you look at is full employment. I mean, I understand wages don't go as far as they did, obviously.
And then couple that with if you got a family of 4 living off of a wage of $10 an hour.
Yeah, well, obviously. Obviously. Right. No, I'm not judging. It just feels like a really high number. Yeah. Right. Tell me you weren't there. Holy buckets. They showed a picture in Georgia of some people in a Walmart inflicting bodily harm on each other to get to some cheap something.
I know.
Jeez. No, I'm not judging anybody. I mean, it's just phenomenal to me. They showed pictures of people in front of Cabela's here that were lined up in 5-degree weather for 18 hours so they could get in the door first to run to the back to get a free something. Wow.
I didn't care. No, we were outside. It's all
Okay, last one, and then you guys just figure this for Monday, and we'll pick up there. Times interest earned says for my interest expense, how many earnings before interest and taxes? How much net income do I have to cover it?
What's that?
EBIT, earnings before interest and taxes. It's a number you're going to pull off your P&L. Interest expense. Earnings before interest and taxes. It's an indication of how much are you earning to cover just your basic interest payments. Okay, so we'll pick back up with this on Monday, and then I think, where did we leave it? The homework, the practical problems are due on Wednesday, and then the problems for points are due on Friday. Okay. Yeah. Are you not here on Monday? Yeah.